Hello guys, welcome to Learn to Empower. Today we have decided to start a new initiative where we will be discussing some of the important topics from UPSC point of view. Not in very detail, but certainly it gives an overview of the topic. So it depends upon from news to news. So how much detail we are going to discuss. So without wasting any further time, today we'll start with the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. To our Constitution? No. It is to the Sri Lanka's Constitution. So who proposed it? India proposed it. So why India proposed and what are the consequences of it? Why Sri Lanka is not implementing? So in this video, we'll take a brief about it. And before we starting the video, I want to ask you guys that is it a country really can suggest to other country to make some changes to their own constitution? So let us assume that if some country asks India please to change the certain provisions of your constitution to make something good, look good. Is it possible? Can a country, a sovereign country like India, will it accept these changes? It depends. It really depends on from case to case. So here also we look into the same issue. So the first and foremost point is that our foreign secretary has actually visited Sri Lanka. Okay, he's in talking with the foreign ministers and the other delegates of Sri Lanka. In the mean process, he also asking that Sri Lanka government, you please implement the so-called 13th Amendment that India has actually proposed. Okay, so what is this 13th Amendment? What India has proposed? I'll give a brief idea about it. It is very simple. Like India follows something called as the federal system. Like what is the federal system of India? It is simple that the Delhi, from where the central government governs, and the states have their independent own driving of powers from the constitution itself. So it means that it's a power sharing. So it is simply the power sharing between different regions of the country. So this is one feature of the federalism. There are many features of the federalism for sure, but this is one of the main features of the federalism where India is also suggested that to the Sri Lankan constitution you develop certain powers to the Tamil majority areas. Okay, so we'll see in detail. The first we'll see that this was the amendment proposed during the time of the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Okay, it is a time where India has also signed Indo-Lanka Accord of 1987. Okay, this is the accord which is primarily aimed at to stop the civil war. Where the Sri Lanka was under brutal civil war with the LTT. So what is LTT? Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. So to have a peaceful talk, India was involved in the process because obviously Sri Lanka is our neighbor. Okay, India follows a neighbor first policy. Okay, so in this case that we should understand why this 13th Amendment is important. The second point is that it is an attempt to resolve the Sri Lanka's ethnic conflict with the Sinhalese and the minorities Tamils. Okay, this 13th Amendment is a measure for what? The power devolution, okay, to the provincial councils. Now, what power has to be devolved? You should understand that when Indian constitution was amended, like in 73rd and 74th, like all the powers of the state were devolved to the panchayat. No, because some of the I would say not so important powers were given to the panchayat, so that the state cannot lose their autonomy towards the panchayat, right? So in this also India has also proposed like education, health, agriculture, housing, so on and so forth, okay, towards the provincial bodies. Now this is the map of Sri Lanka. This is how it looks plainly, but the actual people's composition, or I would say demographic composition of Sri Lanka is like this. The northern and the eastern part is majorly dominated by Tamils. Okay, they are minority in Sri Lanka. Okay, so here where the LTT has a strong control, and the LTT actually demanded for what? The secession. Okay, for the secession of the territory. Okay, but this resulted in so-called civil war, which actually costed not only Sri Lanka but also India very hugely. So this is how the composition is. Now, what is the significance of this amendment? Why this amendment is important? The first and foremost thing that this amendment is trying to solve is to solve the ethnic clashes. What is the ethnic clashes? That is between the majority Sinhalese and the minority Tamils. Okay. The second most point is it is trying to give a decentralization to the political power. if what is the purpose of decentralization to the political power? It is very simple. If the power is devolved to the people, closer to the people have a sense of belongings, okay, sense of belonging to the country. They will participate in a country's development, okay. They do not have any resentment. Even if there is a resentment, they will protest in a peaceful manner, okay. A lot Sri Lanka can learn from Indian constitution. That is why India has suggested this 13th amendment, okay, because India followed it. If India is not following the same, why would India suggest it? Why would anybody listens to our? So India following this as a neighbor, as a good neighbor, so India suggested this to the Sri Lanka. Now it is also meant for the homogeneous development, because the Sri Lanka, if you remember the main part of the Sri Lanka is developed. If you remember, there is a port, there is a Hambantota port, there is a Colombo here, capital city. You look at the northern part, it is mainly, we see the fishings are mainly important. Fishing zones, we generally hear that Tamils from our Indian part is taken to the Sri Lankas, okay, and from Sri Lankan side fishermen coming to India. So this region is remaining mainly of underdevelopment, because economic development was not there, because it was control of LTT, and the economic development by the central government or by any other form of government has not reached the people. So that is also the reason why the clear-cut socio-economic difference can be seen here. Okay, apart from the different economic policy that has been followed by Sri Lanka, but this is a major bone of contention that we can see here. Now moving on to the next, that why Sri Lanka is not implementing this, okay. One reason that can be said, that because it is suggested by some foreign country, right? So India, anyhow, if it is India's neighbor, but India is a foreign country, but India is suggesting that, and India is asking the Sri Lanka to change the constitution, Sri Lankans might get offended, right? So that is also one important. But the other points what actually can be said is that since the most of the powers, like especially the financial powers and overriding powers, were given to the president, even if it is devolved to the Tamil provinces, it is not going to ensure that the actual power devolution to the people, right? And the provisions, especially like police and law and order, not law and order, land, were kept with the president, nothing but the central government, not devolved through the Tamil or the provincials. The similar case you will find in India example, where in case of Delhi, right? In case of Delhi, Indian government has not dwelled some of the powers like police, law and order, and the land is not been given to the Delhi government. Delhi government has no authority on this. Similarly, the proposal that the 13th amendment has not taken the police and land into consideration. Now, this 13th amendment is being opposed by both Sinhala Nationalist Party and LTTE. So, why Sinhala Nationalist Party is opposing? Because the centralized power is given to a province, a small province, okay. So, they are not liking that. Why? Because this is not the case where your power, you will not give the powers as simple as to the provinces, but it takes lot of, I would say, political will to give that power. So that is why the single nationalistic parties are opposing it. Why LTT is opposing? LTT is actually demanded to separate the country, right? It is to separate the country, to have a separate country for Tamils, okay. But this is a power devolution within the same constitution. So the LTT is also not happy with the proposal of the 13th amendment, right? So that is why the LTT is also opposing. Now the single is the other point is that the single nationalist parties see the accord and the consequent legislation as Indian intervention, that we already discussed in the first point, that it is seen as a foreign power or a big power is actually threatening us, or even if it is a small suggestion, then they'll make it as an issue that it is India is threatening that to make the changes to the constitution, even though it is not true, but it can be perceived. Now I want to, apart this is done, but there is a trivia information that everybody has to know. That is that the same 13th amendment is also very important in case of US Constitution, United States Constitution, where under the president of Abraham Lincoln, that the slavery, okay, servitude, everything was abolished, okay, even though it is a long drawn history, but for our convenience sake, we will just remember as the 13th amendment to the US Constitution and 13th amendment to Sri Lankan Constitution, which is very, very important because it is a life changing and it is also a changing the country into a different directions, okay. So we have seen things, but let us look at the one prelims question, that what possible prelims question can be asked. It cannot be I cannot say from 13th amendment any good prelims question can come, but certainly a question of geography based might appear. Okay, so this is the question like arrange the following locations from south to north. So it is asking from south towards north. Okay, let us not to make any confusion here. So we'll divide this. Okay, from south to north. Now, so the given options are Gulf of Mannar, Park State, Park Bay, Bay of Bengal. So pause here, think about it, and give the answer. So I'm right away I'm giving the answer here. So we can look at the map. So from these options we can clearly say that the first option is correct. So this is the first is the Gulf of Mannar, which is here, and the second is Park Bay, which is here, and there is a Park State, and above is there is a Bay of Bengal. So for this video, that's it, guys. I am trying my level best to give provide a better videos. I hope from coming videos I'll have a better news to give you guys and help you in your preparation. Till then, thank you very much.